Well, here we are in the hallowed halls of the University of Virginia under the sponsorship of the McIntyre School of Commerce. And I think this is a wonderful time and place to think about some big questions that have to do with business. You know, we always hear that business is all about profit. It's all concerned with profit. It's all concerned about the bottom line. So I'd like to ask a question, which is, how does wealth get created? And another question I have is, how is the United States, since that's where we are, going to maintain its competitive edge in the decades to come? In the book Megatrends, John Nesbitt and I talked about the shift from an industrial period to an information era. That is to say, a time when most people held jobs creating, distributing, processing, manipulating information. This was a very controversial idea at the time. I remember people saying, this is 1982. Information, how can you possibly make money on information? And I had a lot of fun in San Francisco a couple of months ago addressing a group similar to this of folks a bit younger than some of us here, maybe in their 20s and 30s. And I said, you know, people said, how could we make money on information? And they burst out laughing. As far as they were concerned, how could you make money any other way except through information? And of course, today, information technology is a trillion-dollar industry. But I believe that the age of information is slowly drawing to a close, and in its place, an extraordinary new period is going to begin. Remember, the key is when wealth is derived from something different from information rather than industry, a new economic period begins. And as time goes on, more and more people earn their living through that new activity. So, consider this. The soul of a technology-driven economy, and we hear this all the time, is continuous innovation. Companies can't sit back and wait for consumers like us to demand new and better, different products. They have to take the lead, they have to innovate, and lead by initiating change. Medical device maker Medtronic, which invented pacemakers back in 1957, for every product it has on the market today, there are 4 generations of upgrades of that product in the works. And that's one of the reasons that Medtronic can sustain a 20% growth in its profit annually over a decade or more. So, how do corporations that are so concerned with the bottom line, how do they achieve this challenging but lucrative task of continuous innovation? The short answer, the only answer, is through the genius of human consciousness. There can be no invention today in business without human consciousness. Now, what on earth do I mean by that? I use the term consciousness to mean presence, to mean alertness, the awareness of awareness, it is often called, the willingness to observe a phenomenon without attachment to its outcome. And it is, in many ways, the spiritual component. It is a spiritual component of ourselves. So there is no innovation without this spiritual aspect of human consciousness. We have not begun to explore the ramifications of this simple truth, whether economic or organizational, in our companies today. When an engineering whiz is patiently tinkering away at a problem, a scientific or technological problem. Patiently, what's going on here? How does this work? He or she is dwelling in a realm that is similar to what the spiritual teacher Eckhart Tolle might call the now. He or she is dwelling in the realm of consciousness. Technology is consciousness externalized. I said that for the first time when I launched this book in Massachusetts, where I live in Boston, and people were like, what is she talking about? Technology is consciousness externalized. I said it at Stanford University to a wonderful group of MBAs at the Net Impact Conference, and they were like, duh, sure, what else could it be? They thought this was the most natural thing in the world. Technology is consciousness externalized. So, I would argue that technology, the capacity for detached observation, for contemplating, peacefully contemplating a problem, is the new raw material and ultimately the source of corporate money-making in a technology-driven economy. Consciousness today, human consciousness at a very, very high level in scientific circles and areas of innovation, is more valuable to business, to the bottom line, than financial capital, than oil, than even technology itself, because it is the source of all new technology. And the best way to cultivate consciousness, human consciousness, is through techniques like meditation, contemplation, about which I will talk a lot more a little later on when I get into the 5 megatrends. So to those who say high technology is dead and that computers are a replacement industry, like refrigerators, I would say that one highly conscious engineer dwelling in the realm of consciousness, or a small team of them, will create the next killer app that will launch a $100 million industry. Welcome to the new economy of consciousness. Agriculture, industry, information, consciousness. That is a short history of civilization.